The big meeting room was full of angry voices. 12 different alien races sat around a huge table, all looking at the scary picture floating in the air above them. The picture showed thousands of dark ships moving through space like a giant swarm of bugs. These were the Void Swarm, and they had already eaten 3 whole star systems in just 1 month. Admiral Zexthor was a giant blue alien with 4 arms. He was the leader of the Krellian Empire, and he was very angry. He hit the table hard with all 4 fists and shouted, "We need to attack them now. Send every ship we have to fight them in the big space cloud." Commander Veltara looked like a huge snake with arms. She was from the Serpentine Coalition, and her eyes glowed red when she was mad. "That's crazy," she hissed. "They have thousands of ships. We need to build walls in space, not throw our ships away." The arguing went on for hours. The enemy ships kept getting closer while everyone talked. Every alien race had their own plan, and each plan was more dangerous than the last one. The Draknari were big bear-like creatures, and they wanted to crash their biggest ships right into the enemy. The fish-like cetaceans wanted to blow up their own ships with huge bombs. Even the peaceful tree people called Arbonians said they should let whole planets get destroyed to trick the enemy. In the corner of the room, 3 humans sat quietly. Captain Jake Martinez was a normal-looking man with brown hair and calm eyes. Next to him, Lieutenant Lisa Adams was looking at information on her computer tablet. Commander Pete Johnson was studying pictures of how the enemy ships moved in space. The aliens kept shouting at each other for a long time. Finally, Admiral Zexthor noticed the humans sitting quietly in their corner. His voice was mean when he asked, "What about you humans? Does Earth have some great plan to share with us?" Jake stood up slowly. While everyone else was excited and angry, he looked calm and peaceful. "We think the best thing to do is move all the regular people away from the danger zones," he said in a quiet voice. The whole room exploded with nasty laughter. All the aliens started making fun of the humans. Move people away? Commander Veltara's eyes got even more red. While real warriors die in battle, you want to run away like scared children? General Thrak was the biggest of the bear aliens. His voice was deep and mean. "This is just like humans always do. You always run away instead of fighting. You are all cowards." Jake stayed calm even when all the aliens were being mean to him. "We just think that keeping people alive is more important than anything else," he said. "Alive?" Admiral Zexthor laughed in a nasty way. "What about being brave? What about being heroes? You humans have no courage for real fighting." All the other aliens agreed with him. Everyone in the galaxy knew that humans were scared of fighting. Human armies were small. Human weapons were not very good. Humans always tried to talk their way out of fights instead of using guns and bombs. The aliens kept talking about humans, like they were not even there. They said humans were weak and afraid. They said humans always gave up when things got hard. They said humans could never be real warriors like the other races. "While you waste time moving people around, Admiral," Zexthor said in a proud voice, "the real fighters will take care of this problem. Krellian ships will lead the attack." All the other alien races started making their own battle plans. Each one tried to sound braver and more dangerous than the others. The Draknari talked about how they would crash their ships into the enemy and die with honor. The Serpentines planned perfect attack formations. The bear people wanted to use their biggest guns. Nobody asked the humans what they thought anymore. The aliens had decided that humans were too scared and weak to help with the real fighting. Jake and his team were ignored like they did not matter at all. But Jake was not upset about being ignored. When the meeting was ending, he looked at Lisa. She looked back at him and gave a tiny nod. They understood each other without saying any words. While all the aliens were making fun of them, the humans had their own secret plan. Jake knew something that the aliens did not know. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is not to fight the way everyone expects you to. Sometimes being called a coward gives you the freedom to do what really needs to be done. The aliens thought they were so smart and brave. They thought humans were just scared little creatures who ran away from danger. But Jake and his team knew the truth. Real courage is not about looking brave or making people think you are strong. Real courage is about doing the right thing, even when everyone calls you names for it. As the aliens planned their great battle, The humans quietly prepared for something completely different. They had work to do, and it was going to save everyone, even the aliens who were being mean to them. While all the alien armies got ready for their big fight, human ships started showing up all over the Kepler area. But these were not fighting ships. They were huge ships made to carry people, cargo ships, and passenger ships. "How sad," Admiral Sexthor said as he watched human ships picking up people from the outer planets. "While we get ready for battle, they run around like scared bugs." What the aliens did not see was how careful and smart the human plan was. Captain Susan Clark was in charge of moving people from the command ship Liberty. She was telling hundreds of ships where to go, and they moved millions of people to safety in just 3 days. "Tell me what is happening," Jake said when he got to the temporary control center on Haven Station. "We finished moving everyone from Kepler 7, said Commander Amy Foster. "Kepler 4 will be done in 6 hours. All the mining places in the outer area are already empty." Lieutenant Lisa Adams looked up from her computer. "The other alien races are making fun of us on all the radio channels, sir. They are calling us the Great Running Away and saying we are leaving our friends behind." "Let them talk," Jake said. "How are our real plans going?" Pete Johnson smiled, but his smile was not happy. "Step 2 is ready to start. All the people moving ships have the new scanner machines on them. Dr. Kim has the study stations ready." While it looked like the humans were just running away, they were really doing the biggest information collecting job in the history of the galaxy. Every human ship that was saving people also had special machines that recorded everything about the Void Swarm. They learned how the enemy moved, what they were made of, and how they acted. At the same time, the proud alien armies moved to their fighting positions. The Krellian ships went first with shiny armor and pretty decorations. Behind them, the snake-like serpentine ships arranged themselves in perfect patterns. The bear-like Draknari ships made their engines roar, excited for glorious fighting. "Today, we will show these space bugs the anger of the civilized galaxy," Admiral Sexthor said to all the ships on the radio. "For honor, for glory, for—" His message stopped suddenly when the Void Swarm attacked them. The battle was terrible. The alien space bugs moved like nothing the galaxy armies had ever seen before. They did not fight ship against ship like normal space battles. Instead, they covered the ships like living metal, digging through the walls and eating the ships from the inside. The biggest Krellian ship lasted only 17 minutes. The perfect serpentine formation fell apart as their ships were eaten completely. The Draknari attacks, where they crashed their ships into the enemy, only gave more ships to the swarm to eat. Calls for help filled all the radio channels as the proud armies fell apart. In just a few hours, the entire Galaxy Defense Force was either destroyed or running away. "This is Admiral Sexthor calling all ships that are left," came a broken message from an escape pod. "The enemy. They are not like anything we have seen before. They learn how to beat our weapons and stop our plans. We need a different way to fight." From the control room of the Liberty, Jake watched the computer screen as the winning Void Swarm started moving toward the main planets where billions of people lived. But now, because of all the information collected during the cowardly people-saving operation, he finally understood what they were really fighting against. The aliens had called the humans cowards and weaklings. They had laughed at the human plan to save people instead of fighting. But while the aliens were busy trying to look brave and strong, the humans had been doing the smart thing. They had been learning about the enemy. Jake looked at the information flowing across his screens. Numbers, patterns, and facts about how the Void Swarm moved and acted. The aliens had charged into battle without knowing anything about what they were fighting. That was why they had lost so badly. But the humans had taken their time. They had been careful. They had watched and learned while saving millions of lives. Now they knew things about the enemy that no one else knew. They had found weaknesses that the proud alien warriors had never looked for. The other species thought courage meant charging into danger without thinking. They thought being brave meant never showing fear or doubt. But Jake knew that real courage was different. Real courage was doing what needed to be done even when everyone called you names for it. The humans had been called cowards, but they had saved more lives than all the alien armies combined. They had been called weak, but they had gathered more useful information than anyone else. They had been ignored and laughed at, but now they were the only ones who knew how to fight the enemy. The real battle was just beginning, and the cowardly humans were the only ones ready for it. The emergency meeting was very different from the first one. Instead of proud military leaders, the room was full of scared survivors and desperate refugees. Admiral Zexthor appeared on a big screen from a hospital, looking tired and broken. His earlier pride was gone, replaced by fear and sadness. "The swarm ate everything," he said, his voice quiet and hollow. "Our weapons did nothing. Our battle plans meant nothing. They learn and change faster than we can think." Commander Veltara's picture flickered as she spoke from her damaged ship. "My scientists think they are not just space bugs. They are some kind of group mind that gets stronger with each ship they eat." Jake stood up to talk to everyone, and this time, nobody laughed at him or called him names. "While we were moving people to safety, we were able to collect a lot of information about how the swarm acts," he said. "Dr. Sarah Kim has been studying all the patterns we found." A woman in a white coat appeared on the main screen. She looked tired but excited. "The Void Swarm is not just destroying things randomly. It follows specific rules, like an animal following its instincts. But they have important weaknesses too." She showed a three-dimensional picture of how the swarm was built. "They need a certain amount of energy to keep their group mind working. When they spread out too much, the individual bugs become stupid and simple. Also, they clearly stay away from certain types of energy." "What kind of energy?" asked what was left of the Bear People delegation. "Heat and electromagnetic patterns that are like young stars or exploding stars," Dr. Kim explained. "They naturally fear anything that looks like the kind of radiation that could break up their group network." Jake nodded to Commander Pete Johnson, who took over explaining the plan. "This is why they have been attacking old star systems while avoiding areas where new stars are being born. They are programmed by nature to fear the kind of radiation that could hurt their collective mind." The news sent whispers through the room. For the first time since the disaster, there was a small bit of hope. "So how do we use this information?" demanded General Thrack. Lieutenant Lisa Adams stepped forward. "We have made a three-step plan. Step 1 was moving the people, which took away their main food source while we gathered information. Step 2 involves leading them into a trap using fake star radiation." "And Step 3? Admiral Zexthor asked. Jake looked around the room at the faces of beings who had once dismissed humanity as cowardly. "Step 3 requires something the galaxy has never tried before. Complete cooperation between all species, with one unified command and coordinated tactics." The room became completely silent. The idea of different species working under a single command was almost as strange as the Void Swarm itself. "You are asking us to give up our military independence," Commander Veltara said slowly. "I am asking you to save the galaxy," Jake replied. "The swarm wins because it acts as one mind. We have been fighting it as a dozen separate forces. That is why we lost." Admiral Zexthor was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with the weight of recent defeat. "What do you need from us, Captain Martinez?" Jake turned on a holographic display showing ship positions and movement patterns. Every surviving ship, from battleships to cargo haulers. Every piece of technology that can make an electromagnetic field. And most importantly, every commander willing to follow a single battle plan instead of trying to get personal glory. Donde beer? Discussion that followed was intense but different from before. Instead of each species trying to prove they were better than the others, they found themselves really thinking about working together. The Void Swarm had humbled them all. The Krellians had always been proud of their military strength, but now, their fleets were mostly destroyed. The Serpentines had believed their perfect formations could win any battle, but the Swarm had torn through them like paper. The Draknari had thought their willingness to die in battle made them the bravest, but their sacrifice had only fed the enemy. One by one, the surviving military leaders agreed to put their forces under human command. It was not because they suddenly thought humans were great warriors. It was because humanity had proven they understood the enemy better than anyone else. The Bear People General Thrack was the last to agree. I still think you humans are cowards, he said. But you are smart, cowards. And right now, smart is more important than brave. Jake did not get angry at being called a coward again. He had learned that sometimes being called names was the price of doing the right thing. The important thing was not what people called you, but what you actually did. The aliens were starting to understand something important. All their pride and glory and brave words had not saved them from the Void Swarm. Their perfect battle formations and powerful weapons had been useless. Their willingness to die in glorious combat had only made the enemy stronger. But the humans, who everyone called weak and cowardly, had actually saved millions of lives. They had gathered the information needed to understand the enemy. They had found the weaknesses that could be used to defeat the swarm. The meeting ended with a new plan. For the first time in galactic history, all the different species would work together under one command. They would use human strategy instead of their own traditional tactics. They would trust the cowardly humans to lead them in the most important battle of their lives. As the various alien leaders prepared to return to their ships, Admiral Zexthor spoke privately with Jake one more time. I do not understand you. Humans, he said. You could have said I told you so when our fleets were destroyed. You could have demanded that we beg for your help. But instead, you just quietly started working to save everyone. Jake looked at the alien admiral with calm eyes. That is what you do when people are in danger. You help them even if they have been mean to you. It was a lesson the galaxy was finally beginning to learn. 3 weeks later, the combined galactic fleet came together in the Helix Nebula. It was the biggest gathering of cooperative military forces in all of recorded history. Human people-moving ships worked next to Krellian battleships. Serpentine, stealth ships worked together with Draknari heavy cruisers. Even civilian ships had been given new electromagnetic pulse machines designed by human scientists. Jake stood on the bridge of the command ship, a huge vessel that used to be a human colony transport. Around him, officers from a dozen species worked at shared stations. Their natural hate for each other was set aside for a common purpose. Swarm coming closer, sir, reported Lieutenant Tony Rodriguez. 1,500 ships, and still growing. Are the Step 1 positions ready? Jake asked. All people-moving ships are in place, replied Commander Amy Foster. They are sending out the heat signals of planets where people live. On the computer screen, the Void Swarm changed direction, following the false signals deeper into the nebula. The alien space bugs had eaten so much that they were now bigger than ever, but their group mind was spread thin across huge distances. They are taking the bait, observed Captain Susan Clark. The front ships are entering the electromagnetic field area. Jake nodded to Pete Johnson. Start Step 2. Hidden all through the nebula, human-designed machines began creating fake star radiation patterns. The energy signals copied those of unstable young stars, making the swarm's natural fear response kick in. The effect was immediate and amazing. The Void Swarm began to break apart, individual units breaking away from the group as their shared intelligence was broken up by basic survival instincts. Now they are weak, Lisa Adams reported. Group intelligence is down by 60% and still falling. All units, begin Step 3, Jake commanded. What happened next was not the kind of glorious battle that the galactic powers had originally wanted. There were no dramatic ship-to-ship fights or heroic charges. Instead, the combined fleet did a careful, coordinated campaign designed to stop the swarm from coming back together. Krellian ships used their heavy weapons to destroy large groups, while Serpentine ships hunted down individual units trying to escape. Draknari ramming attacks finally worked against isolated swarm units. Human ships coordinated the entire operation, making sure that no group of space bugs could gather enough mass to restore their group intelligence. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Void Swarm was scattered and defeated. The individual parts were too simple to be a threat to advanced civilizations anymore. After the battle, as the combined fleet regrouped and began rescue, Operations Admiral Zexthor asked to speak privately with Jake. Captain Martinez, the Krellian leader said, his tone very different from their first meeting. I owe you an apology. We called you cowards, but you showed more courage than any of us. Jake shook his head. We were not being cowardly in the beginning, Admiral. We were being careful. Sometimes what looks like fear is actually wisdom. Your species saved the galaxy by doing what the rest of us refused to do, Zex Thor continued. You put aside pride and ego to focus on what really mattered. As reports came in from across the galaxy, the size of human actions became clear. While other species had prepared for glorious battle, humans had quietly moved over 50 million civilians from threatened worlds. While others had focused on military glory, humans had gathered the intelligence needed to understand and defeat an impossible enemy. The galaxy learned that day that true courage was not about charging headfirst into danger. It was about doing what needed to be done even when others called you a coward for it. Commander Veltara sent a message to Jake from her ship. We have been thinking about courage all wrong, she said. We thought it meant never showing fear, but you humans showed us that real courage is being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. General Thrak, the big bear alien who had been meanest to the humans, also sent a message. I called you cowards many times, he said. But now I see that we were the real cowards. We were too scared to look weak, so we chose the wrong path. You were brave enough to look weak if it meant saving lives. The news of the victory spread quickly through the galaxy. But the real story was not just about defeating the Void Swarm. It was about how the weakest species had saved everyone by being smart instead of trying to look strong. On every planet, people talked about how the humans had been willing to be called names and laughed at. They had let everyone think they were cowards and weaklings. But while the other species were busy trying to prove how brave they were, the humans had quietly done the work that actually mattered. Years later, when galactic historians wrote about the Void Swarm War, they wrote that humanity's greatest victory came not from having better weapons or tactics. It came from their willingness to be misunderstood. By accepting the label of coward, humans had been free to take the careful, smart actions that ultimately saved everyone. The other species had been so focused on proving their bravery that they forgot the point of courage, protecting those who could not protect themselves. The cowardly humans had never forgotten that lesson. Children on planets throughout the galaxy learned the story in school. They learned that sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is refuse to fight the way everyone expects you to. They learned that real strength comes not from never being afraid, but from facing your fears and choosing to act wisely despite them. Jake Martinez became a hero, but not the kind of hero he had ever wanted to be. He did not want parades or statues or songs written about him. He just wanted people to remember the lesson, that doing the right thing is more important than looking brave. In the end, the humans had been called cowards, but they were the only ones brave enough to do what needed to be done. They showed the galaxy that real courage is not about never being afraid. Real courage is about being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. The story of the cowardly humans became the most famous story in galactic history. And every time someone told it, they made sure to remember the most important part. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let others call you a coward, as long as you are doing what is right.